Hi everyone, my name is Melissa van Dijk, and in this video I want to show you something on the nutrition labels that I think can be extremely misleading when you're trying to reduce your salt intake. Because from my comments I can see that many of you probably think first about the salt you add yourself. Maybe you add some salt to your rice or put some into the water when cooking potatoes. And reducing that is already good. But where I think most of the confusion really starts is with foods where the sodium has already been added before you even buy them, like in bread, sauces, noodles, cheese, and other processed foods. So let's take this popular whole grain bread from Days as an example, so that it makes a little bit more sense. One slice contains 170 milligrams of sodium, and then it says this is 8% of the daily value. And I think the natural way to read that is, okay, I've consumed 8% of the sodium I need today. So you may assume that you still need the other 92%, or that you can go towards that number and the closer you get to 100%, the better. But that is not what this means. On this label, that percentage is based on 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. But that number is not a target you're supposed to reach. It is actually the amount they are telling you to stay below. So you're not supposed to work your way up towards 100%. And this becomes even more confusing when you look at the other nutrients on exactly the same bread. It says that it contains about 4 grams of fiber, which is 16% of the daily value, 30 milligrams of calcium, which is 2%, and 170 milligrams of sodium, which is 8%. They are all presented in basically the same way. But with something like fiber or calcium, you may actually be looking at the percentage to see how much you're getting towards your daily amount. With sodium, however, you are not supposed to look at 8% and think, great, I still need another 92%. It is basically the opposite. So when you're checking sodium on a nutrition label, you need to think about the other way around. The lower the sodium number is, the better. And this is also why I keep telling you to look at the actual milligrams of sodium instead of assuming that because you didn't add much salt yourself, your food must be low in sodium. Because this one slice of whole grain bread already has 170 milligrams of sodium, and you probably aren't just eating one slice. 2 slices will already give you 340 milligrams of sodium before you even have put anything on the bread. And just as a little side note here, because this is something that comes up quite often, just because something is whole grain doesn't automatically mean it is low in sodium. Sodium can be just as sneaky in these products and sometimes even worse, so you still need to check the label. But it also happens with so many other things. And I took a few popular processed foods as examples here, and I'm sure many of you eat some versions of these. Maybe not these exact brands, but the same thing is happening across the board. So let's say you eat a tortilla. One tortilla can easily contain around 330 milligrams of sodium. And that is not a small amount at all, because again, that is before you have even put anything inside it. Or maybe you're following a different kind of health or high protein niche, and you're trying to be health conscious. So you go for the cottage cheese. This good culture cottage cheese contains 380 milligrams of sodium, and that is just in half a cup. So the harmless looking cottage cheese that some health gurus may present as healthy, high protein food can actually become a serious source of sodium. So again, you can really only know by carefully checking the label instead of assuming something is low in sodium because it looks healthy. And it can literally happen everywhere. Let's say you want vegetable juice and you go for the ready-made version because it's convenient. It looks extremely innocent. But this V8 original vegetable juice contains 640 milligrams of sodium in only one 8-ounce glass. It literally says 100% vegetable juice in the front, so most of you are probably thinking about vegetables and vitamins when you see it, not sodium. So imagine having this alongside a couple of slices of bread in the morning, and then you also put ham or smoked salmon on top. Just imagine how high your sodium intake is getting then. You can get very close to that limit in just one meal, and the day has barely started while you are thinking, Well, I'm eating healthy, so it can't be the food that is causing my problems. So really, you need to turn it around and check the label, because you can very easily consume a large amount of sodium without ever sitting there pouring salt over your food. And if you keep looking at those percentages as something you're supposed to complete throughout the day, you can very easily end up doing exactly the opposite of what you were trying to do. So don't try to make your sodium percentage reach 100%. You do not need to complete it. And by the way, just to put that into perspective, your body really doesn't need much sodium at all. WHO puts the estimated minimum at only around 200 to 500 milligrams per day. And even Australia and New Zealand use a range of only about 460 to 920 milligrams per day, which already includes a generous margin for things like hot climates and physical activity. And from my own testing, as already said here, usually that puts me somewhere between 400 and 800 milligrams on a day of a real unprocessed or minimal processed whole food eating, where I eat the foods as it comes or just add a pinch of salt here and there. So when you buy packaged or processed foods, look at the actual sodium in milligrams and keep that number as low as you reasonably can. And especially pay attention to the foods where sodium has already been added before you even open the package. It really just comes down to learning to read the labels, so you actually know what you're buying. Keep your sodium intake low and make your skin and your overall health happy. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!